How's it going, everyone? I'm back. I'm still alive. And I know I have not uploaded a video journal in a while. It's been crazy. I feel like I haven't had a chance to take a break since finals. And that was 2 or 3 weeks ago. So, a lot of stuff to go over. I'm not going to go over it in super deep detail, but I had all sorts of family drama that happens every year so far over the past couple of years. So dealt with that. My laptop's operating system crashed and I had to hard restart it. Um, I my wife is leaving her current job and going to get another one. So yeah, it's just been a lot of crazy going on. But I've learned some valuable lessons, and that's actually what I wanted to talk about today. Obviously, first off, for people who are celebrating the holidays, happy holidays. Hopefully, your Christmas went well, and I'm wishing you a happy new year. This is going to be a really fun year for me because of what we're going to talk about right now. Also, I graduate in next May. I don't know what's going to happen with this channel after that. Genuinely don't know. Based on what the state of the economy looks like right now, and based on what the job market is doing going into 2025, my prediction is not a whole ton is going to change. I mean, I have a job that's paying me well now, so it's not like I'm hard up for work. But I don't know if I'm going to end up changing jobs or what's going to happen with that. In the near term, we'll see what happens 6 and 9 months down the road. But for right now, that's where we're at. I will be attending an AI summit coming up in February. So I'll be writing an article on LinkedIn about that if anyone's interested. I'll put it in the comments so people can see it. And now we're going to get to the lesson part. This is how every video goes. Like, I don't know. This is how my brain works. It's very stream of consciousness with these video journals, but they're mainly, again, to help me digest my emotions, and hopefully someone who's watching this gets some kind of benefit from it and their life improves in a meaningful way. So, lesson number 1. I'm going to go over these in pretty quick succession, but I'm going to explain them in detail and why it matters. First off, back up what you're doing in life. You know, one thing that I haven't talked about a whole lot on these video journals is I had 3 major technology failures in a row. Not in a row, but every couple months. There was the hard drive that failed that I talked about before. I jumped into a river, or more like fell into a river last October, and it knocked one of the stabilizers loose on my phone's camera. So now the front facing camera vibrates and jiggles until I get that fixed. And after all that, operating system, my laptop failed, which I use my laptop for everything. I use it for work, I use it to write articles, I use it for school, so I couldn't afford to have that. And if I had been less prepared over the last 6 to 9 months, 2 of those failures would have cost me hundreds of hours of work that would have just gone up in smoke. And the phone thing still might. I gotta go get a second opinion, but it might be just I have to live with it until I have the money to get a new phone. And that's why it's so valuable to back everything up. I mean, now, I have external hard drives. I put all my work stuff on. I upgraded my cloud storage with Microsoft. And obviously, with the phone situation, I am seriously considering getting Apple Care. I probably won't get it on this device. It may be my next one. But I purchased it for a new Apple product I got for my wife for Christmas just because insurance and backups is so cheap. Not everywhere. I'm not saying all insurance, but it's so easy to back up and protect the things that you care for in life. that it just doesn't pay to turn around and ignore it. Because the worst will probably happen. And I'm not trying to say that to like scare anyone, but the chance of something really horrible happening, I guess not really horrible, the chance of tragedy happening is high. And that applies for everything. And in some areas of life, it's actually even cheaper than paying for insurance. You know, thankfully with the backup thing, it cost me like $2 a month to get massive backup storage on my devices, on my phone. And even with life, you know, photos are a backup. They're a reminder of our experiences that we've had with the people we love and care about. Obviously, I'm a big fan of life and health insurance, and that's not just because I'm in finance, but also because they do remove a lot of risk. Those are way more expensive, but there are even cheaper options even for that. You know, finding time to exercise a couple hours a week does a lot to protect you and protect your loved ones from future harm happening to you. And so, I guess what I'm trying to say here with this first lesson is back up and protect what you care about. I can't tell you everything that you need to do that, but seriously consider it and take it seriously, because you don't want to wake up some point in the future and have that be gone. The next lesson is one that I've talked about a lot before, but no one on this channel has said it, surprisingly, because I hear it everywhere else in life. And that is try to move forward in the best way you can. So the reason why that came up is after everything that's happened over the holidays, my wife made a comment to me about how I was being positive about a certain situation. And I didn't have the heart to tell her at the time. It's like, I'm not being positive, it's just there's no other option. I am not actually a sickening optimist, as I like to say. I'm philosophically, I believe in existentialism. I believe that entropy is coming for us all. I believe we're going to get sick. I believe we're going to die. I believe everything materially that we've built in this world will eventually collapse into dust. And on top of all that, I believe that there's a high chance that each and every one of us is going to get harmed and screwed over by somebody in the future who cares more about their own personal benefit than our well-being. That used to make me really depressed for a long time, because at the time I believed in what was called egoism. And egoism is simply the philosophy of doing what's best for you. The problem is that only goes one of two places. It either makes you an existentialist, or it makes you a nihilist, where nothing matters anymore, and the highest form of meaning comes from slating your earthly desires. I wish there was a better way to say that, but it's, you know, getting drunk, getting high, chasing women, chasing work. You know, it's the only thing that matters when you go to the far end of the egoism spectrum. But I had kind of a change of heart. I don't know, when I was like probably 17. No, it was probably later than that. I was probably in my 20s. It was after the personality breakdown. Where I realized that there is a certain level of suffering that you just cannot avoid. And that's a big problem if you're an egoist, because suffering is never good for you. And it's a big problem for a lot of value systems that I believe in 100% honesty. You know, if you believe a stoic set of values where you believe that you can't love anything all that much, you just have like a baseline level of misery throughout your entire life and you can't enjoy the good. if you believe in what's best for everyone, the problem is there's serious what are called asymmetries in life. So even though we know from things like Simon's Bet, which you can go look up on YouTube, that conditions are actually getting better across the world, not worse, there's still major asymmetries in where resources and information is. So we can't get them all in the optimal way in the time that we want them. So you can't really do what's best for everyone because you don't have the time and information to get those resources. Excuse me. But the nice thing about being a little bit more existentialist is you can accept the suffering for what it is. And when you combine that with something like entropy and something that I'm going to talk about in a second called marginal life philosophy, you realize you have two options in life. You can choose to take it on the chin and try to live life in a meaningful way and do the best you can every day. Or you can waste away and you can be bitter and you can never do anything and eventually you're just going to die alone and sad. That sounds really dark, but it's kind of the two options that you have when you really push it out and you really take I'm going to bring this back to math a little bit. When you really start to collapse down the equation, let's call it, of life, as you start to take a more and more direct approach and you boil that equation, everything that goes into life down, you really end up with just two options, and that is live and move forward or stop and perish. Those are your choices. And so I try to just do the best I can, and it's not really, oh, I'm super optimistic, though I am pretty optimistic. I believe good things will happen to me as I work towards good things. There's not really another option. And for me, that was super liberating. And maybe for some of you, it will be too, where you can actually accept that life won't always be perfect and move forward anyway. That actually brings me to the last lesson that I learned this year and that I wanted to share, which is the idea of what I call marginal life philosophy. People who work in STEM fields, mathematics or business, know that there's something we call the diminishing law, the law of diminishing marginal return. And breaking that down into simple terms, diminishing, it's getting smaller. Marginal just means one more than the last thing. And returns is obviously the benefit you get from something. Normally applies to economics, but it also applies to life, where as you do more things, the satisfaction that you get from doing that thing gets smaller and smaller and smaller over time. Until eventually you hit this, what we call the normal curve, where you hit this point where you're at the optimal level of satisfaction for that thing, and everything afterwards slowly drops off until you get less and less satisfaction. You've seen this happen in your life, believe it or not. Think about, like, one crumble cookie's delicious, 9 is kind of excessive, and it's not good anymore. When you clean your house, the first hour of cleaning is ultra satisfying and you get so much stuff done, but every hour after that starts to be more of a drag, and so on and so forth. It even happens with money and with quality of life. Studies have shown that at a certain point, about $90,000 a year, money stops providing you a better satisfaction with life. And it's actually even lower. There was one study I was looking at that came out of, I think it's Purdue, that showed that their survey respondents experienced emotional well-being at only $65,000 a year. So the point is, everywhere we look in life, we see these what are I call marginal return curves, where we start doing something, it's hard, it's challenging, we get a lot of satisfaction from it, and eventually it stops. And that sounds really depressing, but that's where the moving forward in the best way you can comes from. What I realized is that with marginal return means that you can boil it down to the smallest possible action, and if you do that repeatedly, you'll still get the results you want. Why does that matter? Everywhere today you hear people talking about how we need to do this strange esoteric set of crazy actions to get outcomes that we want, whether it's more money, better looking body, etc., etc., etc. I saw it today. I actually am considering doing a video on this particular ad, but there's a guy that the latest generation of YouTube gurus talking about, oh, you can throw everything you know about finance out in business and do just this one thing. And so I'm curious to look at what he has to say and if it's actually true, because 9 times out of 10 it's not. But the point is, you don't have to do that. If you get, for example, I'm going to give 2 examples here. One, Dr. Mike Israetel at the Bronx University talks about this. For people who aren't physically active, 1 hour a week in the gym with weight training and cardio will provide you incredible results. And each hour after that, after like 2 or 3 hours a week, the returns get smaller and smaller and smaller. Same thing with finance. Is the nice thing about the principle of compound interest, forgot what it was for a second, is that you don't need to hustle the rest of your life if you can just get in the habit of putting a small amount of money away every month into a well-balanced portfolio of whatever, stocks, bonds, doesn't matter, right? It's even easier if you take that money and just put it in something that tracks the S&P 500, because we know that it goes up 10% every 7 to 10% every year, regardless of what happens. This is what I mean. Small actions produce big results over time. Now, obviously, if you want the actions quicker, you're going to have to put in more work. But the nice thing that I realized about this marginal life philosophy is it's sustainable. I'm the kind of person, I was just talking about this with my therapist, I don't like doing consistent actions. I like to run fast and hit hard. And that burns you out really quickly. So this idea of being able to take your time and move a little bit slower actually presents you with the benefit of you can do it for longer. Kind of the whole marathon idea, right? No one's running at top speed for a marathon. You would die. But if you can slow down and move at a slower pace, you can last a lot longer and come out on top. That's the whole point of this marginal life philosophy, is if you take small marginal actions deliberately, you'll move along the marginal benefit curves that you want out of life. Whether it's physical, relationship, doesn't matter. As long as you're doing it, if you're aware and you're doing it on purpose, you'll get the same result. Anyway, that's it. If you found any of this helpful, let me know in the comments. And let me know what you do to get through the crazies of the holiday, because clearly I need that. It's happened over the past couple of years have been wild, and I'm not sure what to do about that. So thank you all. Happy New Year. I will see you all next week.